What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, and today we're going to be going over a guide for Bommel the Dread Horn. In my opinion, and probably in most people's opinion once they see this is the hardest content this game has ever seen. Now that's a big statement with Platinum Arena being a thing, and maybe I can push Platinum Arena aside just for now and say this is the hardest PvE content this game has ever seen based on a release. Ultra Nightmare was hard when it first came out, but it doesn't quite compare to this Doom Tower boss. So does that mean it's going to get nerfed? I'm not really sure what plarium's going to do. Should it be nerfed? That's kind of up to you guys to decide, but I'm going to go over the strategy for this, and hopefully if you guys do have an adequate enough account, you can clear this content. But first, I do have to give a huge shout out to RRDD, my clanmate, the Russian content creator who I worked back and forth with to make this perfect team composition, and at the moment it's the most successful team to complete Bommel the Dread Horn test server at the moment. So he came up with a lot of huge ideas, so huge shout out to him. Without him figuring out some key interactions between it, I don't think this team would have been possible, so I do have to shout him out for sure. So with that being said, I'm going to show you the champions I'm going to use to showcase this. Now this team is going to be just like the last team. You don't need these champions. I use different champions for my fastest run, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. As we can see, only 5 people. This is actually hours before the test server is going to end the embargo and it's going to go live to the entire player base. There are 5 people, 2 of which are myself and RRDD, who did come up with that original team composition that you do see here above. But there's only 5 content creators that have figured out how to beat this properly on floor 90 of hard, which is going to be the hardest difficulty here. Now what I'm going to showcase here is going to apply to every single difficulty. I'm not going to start in normal like some others might do, because it's going to bait everyone trying this on hard. There are certain things that just don't apply to hard on stage 90 that will definitely work for the first version of this boss in hard and in both versions on the normal difficulty. So with that being said, I did use Underpriest Brogni in that fastest run there, but I do want to show this team. It's tanky. It's going to let me survive longer, so I can show you guys a lot of key interactions here. And I'm pretty sure I can put this on auto for a while and show you guys what the trash waves look like. The first wave is the most threatening one by far. It's the only really one that has damage here. So we're just going to cycle through this, get as many kills as we can here. It should be pretty quickly, although we're not going to be one-shotting the waves here. There are a lot of important things that we do have to discuss. The first thing is, as far as I know, the speed of Bommel the Dread Horn is going to be 151 speed. So keep that in mind. That is very, very high for a base speed of any type of boss. So that's going to be the first point and the first thing you guys need to know as far as stage 90 goes. Now I cannot confirm 151 is the speed. I just know that at 151 speed with the champions I have currently geared, without a speed aura, they will go before the boss. At 150 speed, they will go under. That should sound like 100% the reason how things are going to work. However, it's not because of Lore of Steel, all of these other things, so it is possible that the boss's speed is 149 and 150. Like I said, cannot confirm, but 151 speed without a speed aura will always go first. So as you can see here in the second wave, we had 2 Fushan by Stophis and 2 Coronar. Not a really threatening stage, there's not a lot of damage here. Everyone has 15% crit rate, so while Fushan can deal some damage, it's like I said, it's not going to be a real threat here. So we're going to slide past this. We don't want to use any cooldowns here, and since I did leave it on auto and took it off auto to explain a few things, I want to make sure I'm not getting caught up and having the wrong cooldowns available to me. I'm pretty much just going to spam the A1s on these guys, who, as we can see, are quite tanky, to be expected from a Coronar with a defense up buff, but that's besides the point here. We're just going to get through this, and I'll see you guys at the boss. Alright guys, so now that we're on the boss, let's get straight to business here. Now this boss, as far as the numbers I figured out, as far as the numbers RRDD figured out, has 1000 base accuracy. Is this going to stay in the game forever? I am not sure. How do we get around this? The Brilliant Whirlim Frost King. These debuffs cannot be resisted, decrease accuracy, decrease crit damage. Whirlim did recently get buffed, so he's definitely a lot better, but this takes him to the next level if they choose not to change anything about his kit. So of course, we're going to start with this A2 here, decrease his accuracy. Now, even with this, you need 460 resistance with decreased accuracy. So with this awesome stat, assuming you have Whirling Frost King and he even got a bomb on himself, because the mechanic of this Rhino here occurred before we placed that debuff, so he did get a bomb put onto himself. Now we're going to use the A1 from Vizier to extend that decreased accuracy buff on the boss. Finally, we're going to use block debuff to give our team some survivability here. And now the key thing to realize here is I don't have a single freeze champion. You might be thinking that the reason why Whirling Frost King is here is because he has a freeze on the A1. That is not going to be the case. So one thing that I just realized, and funny enough, it took me until I reached the boss, I'm using my speed clear team. I'm not using the team that I was going to use to showcase with that can pretty much just survive anything. So I do have to be a little bit careful when choosing these abilities here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use Valkyrie Shield. Now this is the next main point that I do in fact want to talk about. Layering defense, I've gone over it in other videos before. The best layered defense for this boss, hands down, is going to be shields. No matter how you think of it, how you want to swing it, shields are going to protect you from bombs the best. In these side bombs, like I said, I'm not freezing them at all, and they do so much damage, as we know from the tooltip. If I can find it right here, these bombs deal pure damage. And even though it doesn't say it here, we did get it from the original tooltip, and these side bombs deal pure damage. So what's the only way to mitigate pure damage? It's not defense, it's not increased defense, it's strengthen. So another huge shining point for Whirling Frost King here. Now, one thing you're going to notice based on the mechanics here is when you apply debuffs to this boss, he is going to put bombs on you. So what did I do to counteract that? I built Iragoth with the lowest resistance on the team, not too low, but low enough to where the bombs would proc. And think about this guy, he is a poison spitting machine. So one set that I use, and the only set that transfers bombs from your champion to the other champion, is going to be the deflection set that you get as a reward from the Forge or from Platinum Arena. So I want to take advantage of this. Let's go ahead and use the bomb effect here. As we can see, we already deflected one bomb effect to the boss. Now I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but I am going to talk about it. In theory, the deflection is supposed to happen before any type of resist happens on your champion. It's supposed to be coded that way. However, if you build your Iragoth with very high resistance and no bombs get through to this champion, what I did find out is the bombs don't get deflected. However, with block debuff on the previous trash wave, where we remember we had Fushan in it, he will reflect the stun or the defense down back to Fushan, even with block debuffs on. So I found that very interesting as to how resistance seems to be working a little bit different here with deflection gear on the boss than it does anywhere else in the game. So that is something to keep in mind and be aware of for sure. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the strengthen buff. We're going to go ahead and A1 again, extending that decreased accuracy, which is going to be key, like I did mention. We have a weak affinity champion. We tried to grow the shield, it didn't work too well. Once again, we deflected another bomb here, and you're going to notice right away once the timer of these bombs get down to pretty much zero that bombs don't do as much damage as we all think they do. A lot of people said, why don't you just build a glass cannon for this? You're going to see in a few moments why you cannot bring a glass cannon to this fight here. I have very, very good gear on these champions to survive long enough in this video to fully explain the mechanics here. As we can see, 17,000 damage from that bomb through strengthen. Just think about that. He has attack up on himself. One key point here is the attack up on himself actually applies to the bombs you deflect here. So you're getting a pretty decent amount of damage from that, and it's still, as we're going to see, not going to compete with the poisons that Iragoth is going to place on them. So everyone's pretty much full health. We're going to use this A1 here. We get another poison. Didn't get any more bombs. Let's go ahead and just use the A1, extend the duration of the debuffs again. A1 once again. Okay, so the bombs did, I know I should have put it onto 1x speed. The bombs did about 32,000 damage and the poisons did like 20. That's the difference between this incredible bomb boss and using poisons on him. They take increased damage from bombs, I get it, but honestly, it's not enough. So now you guys get to see something very cool and very scary, which is going to be these bombs blowing up without a single freeze debuff on them. So look at the damage one of them just did. We don't have strengthen up, but we have a big shield. You're going to notice that it cut right through the shield there and it applied to the health. Very important thing to notice here. We extended the debuffs there. The next bomb's going to be going out soon. No one's really in danger of dying just yet, so I don't have to use remove all debuffs, even though you can't remove any debuffs here. So we'll apply poisons here. Let's go ahead and apply this so we heal a bit. Now we're going to get double hit here, I think. This bomb should be blowing up shortly. And like I said, I don't think anyone's going to die from this. Okay, but they're going to get very close. I know we can't quite see the HP bar of, okay, we can barely see it. He has like 3 lines left on Whirling Frost King, and we have about 2.5 on Vizier. So we survived there. We had no strengthen, so we did take a little bit extra damage, but like I said, these bombs hit really hard, and you can bring in a freeze champion. That is one thing to keep in mind. I probably wouldn't, and I'm going to explain that all of the freeze champions that I played around with, they died very fast. Now this is applying only to stage 90. If you're on other stages, definitely bring a freeze champion. It's free. The other versions of this boss and the other difficulties don't deal anywhere near as much damage as this one. So for those, 100% bring the freezes. And if you want to bring bomb champions to make yourself feel better about having them gain some value, you definitely can. However, like I mentioned, raw damage dealers with masteries like War Master and Giant Slayer are going to do a solid amount of damage for you. The key here is making sure you can survive, and that you're going to see with what I'm showing you here on the hardest difficulty that's currently available to us. So we do want to put the strengthen up. The bomb damage is going to be coming in quite soon here. Let's go ahead and extend the buffs. Like we can see, we're not afraid of losing any of these debuffs now, and I can tell you, if we did lose decreased accuracy, this team would have wiped probably in the second or third turn here. Let's go ahead, be safe, use the poison, get continuous heal on everybody here. So we have 12,000 damage from those bombs there, 32,000 from the HP burn. So this is going to be the best approach to kind of get through this content decently fast. Like I said, the best time I could figure out was 3 minutes and 36 seconds, which is way different than any other type of PvE content we've seen. Now, I have zero reason to believe that any of the teams that we're going to figure out on the test server are going to be the most efficient ways to kill this boss. It hasn't happened to this day. Content creators aren't the ones that are making the meta teams for pretty much any content. It's always players who get to play around with their accounts, use things that we haven't thought of, because they will have much more time to practice these bosses and think about it while we do move on to other content. So keep that in mind, and like I've done in my previous Eternal Dragon and Griffin video, this is simply to show you what these bosses do, how hard they hit, and the champion types you should be using to mitigate this as best as you can. So now that I went over that, I do want to go over the key and important roles for this boss fight that are going to help you in any single stage you can think of. So the first one's going to be, and it's really strange how this automatically swapped back to a different team after exiting this run here, when it should have been from the start this team. This is what I wanted to show you. So key takeaways here. You want a defense up champion that's going to apply all of the time. So a champion like Iron Brago is going to be very good for this boss. He has an AoE damage dealing ability. He applies that attack down. Another thing you're going to want is going to be decreased accuracy. Now, unfortunately, decreased accuracy isn't going to be enough, especially for floor 90. You need some way to extend that buff, or you need literally 2 Whirling Frost Kings cycling decreased accuracy that's irresistible back and forth, so it has 100% uptime. Because like I said, if you're applying debuffs with someone like Iragoth, he is going to get literally 10 bomb debuffs on him, and it's going to one-shot anything in this game outside of Unkillable. Speaking of Unkillable, you can use Unkillable buffs, you can use block damage. However, with a champion that requires over 251 speed to go first, think about Unkillable teams for the clan boss where you need 191 speed to go first. The speeds for Unkillable teams, yes, they can be quite low, they can be at the level and a little bit higher than the clan boss itself, but now we're in a whole new league and a whole new ball game. So if your approach to this originally was going to be, I'm going to build an Unkillable team, you're probably going to have to rethink that based on the cooldown usage, because we're not starting at 191 speed anymore like we would for clan boss. Now we're starting at 251 speed. That is a 60 speed difference. If you can look at all of the clan boss speed tunes and add 60 speed to that and say, okay, that's doable for me and my account, then you're going to be fine. However, once again, keep in mind that even if you let Bommel go for one turn, you're going to be dealing with bomb debuffs that are going to be almost impossible to resist, and you're going to be dealing with his base damage AoE that he's going to apply to your team. So outside of decrease accuracy and defense up, if you can work a strengthen into the team, I recommend doing that. It's most likely for stage 90, most teams that people build on the first reset are going to be 10 minutes long unless you have these specific champions that I'm showing you here today. So one thing I do want to show you is kind of the stats I'm using on these champions, just to kind of show you how ridiculous and how geared I do have these champions. 81,000 health on a Sifi, 251 speed, just under 400 resistance because I'm using the Sifi aura, which gives increased resistance, and 3400 defense. On Whirling Frost King, 257 speed, very fast, 51,000 health, 3700 defense, 410 resistance. Vizier of Elis. Accuracy champions are so hard to gear for this boss because you need high resist, high accuracy, on top of needing that decrease accuracy buff on the boss. So we have 410 resist, 439 accuracy, 253 speed, just under 50,000 health, and 2300 defense. For Under Priest Brogni, we have 66,000 health, 3200 defense, 251 speed, 100 crit rate, 449 resistance, and finally Eurogrim, who is in the deflection where I said you could go a little bit lower. On all of the stats, we have 191 speed, 58,000 health, 3400 defense, 385 resist, and 387 accuracy. Alright, so with all of that being said, I'm now going to go to normal difficulty so you can really see the difference between the two bosses and how they work together. So let's go ahead to the team setup here, plug and play here, straight auto. Let's see if we have to change anything and if we have to align any of the cooldowns. As we can see, the highest stage here also has the same trash wave with the double Thea the Tomb Angel by Stophis, followed by Little Miss Annie here. And once again, double Fushan, double Coronar by Stophis on the left here. So we're going to get through this pretty quickly here, then we'll get to the boss and we'll see what the difference is between stage 90 hard and then stage 90 on the normal difficulty. See if we can notice anything. Alright guys, so we're going to pretty much just start off by using the proper skills here. Increase accuracy once again. Let's go ahead and turn meter boost our team. Use this A1 here, it's going to be important to extend those debuffs. Now I did not set this up properly where I would have turned off every one of Vizier's abilities besides his A1 because all we really want is the extend. Let's go ahead and I think we have too much resistance to even have anything under effect. One key thing that I want you all to notice is if you don't click on the boss when using Whirling Frost King, he is going to try to A1 the side bombs over and over again, which in my opinion is a huge problem, and it's definitely a flaw. Hopefully they fix it, but you have to click on the boss for Whirling to even target the boss with his abilities, or he's just going to A1 over and over again. So as we can see here, it's still doing a ton of pure damage to this team here, but based on the champions I'm using, based on the gear I'm using, we are doing just fine. So this is why if you want to use a freeze champion to freeze the side of this boss, you definitely can. As far as the bombs go, it's going to reduce the damage for sure, but you don't need to if you do rely on shields. Like I said, this is the speed team I used for the hard difficulty. We are on normal difficulty here, so it's going to get through this no problem. On hard difficulty, even though you did see the health drop really low on this difficulty here, even on hard, I'm pretty much survived with about 1 bar of health on everybody, just because I pre-calculated the damage and the gear that I did in fact need here. So another perfect example of what I'm talking about. All of the health of these champions went down super slow, but as we can see, the time remains just as fast. So what I can do here is, now that I'm showing this team and what I've done with this, we can go back and we can look and see if any of the other content creators did choose to go to the normal difficulty and test out any of their teams here. Maybe some of them use bomb champions. I'm pretty sure you guys already noticed that I'm not deflecting any bombs. Like I did say before, unfortunately, if you build resistance too high, for some reason deflection doesn't like to work on this boss, so we did this in 87 turns, 1 turn slower than we did it on the hard difficulty. So that's a little bit of RNG for you, but let's see if anyone else has done this. Okay, so it looks like a ton of players have done this, and we do have Ninja being used here. So as you can see, the difference between hard and normal is pretty much night and day. We have 7 people who have figured this out and have been able to do this on the normal difficulty as opposed to like 4 to 5 people on the hard difficulty. So these are all things to consider. We do have the fastest team with Lugan the Steadfast, brilliant healer for sure, the best throughput healer in the entire game. We have the AoE freeze with Ninja here. We have a bomber with Astranyx. We have a perfect cleanser and support healer with Rio Bone Spear. And then finally Under Priest Brockney here. So that's definitely a cool team at top with 66 turns, being the fastest we did see here. The second team we do have Rector Drath, Astranyx, Duchess, and 2 bomb champions. Like I did explain, I probably wouldn't be using bomb champions for this since the damage is a bit underwhelming. If you can figure out and have the OP legendaries that you see in front of you and you want to build glass cannon bomb champions, it's possible you get a ton of damage out, but I don't really have a lot of faith in that strategy personally. But like I said, content creators aren't going to be finding the meta teams for this. All we're here to do is find what works for us, and then it's up to the players who are going to have a lot more time to really test these things out, use it in practice. Alright guys, that's my rundown of Bommel, the hardest boss in my opinion that this game has ever seen, and hardest PvE content we've ever seen. Maybe it rivals the early stages of Faction Wars, but this is still pretty difficult when you're thinking about the highest difficulty in hard. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's going to be nerfed? What kind of champions are you planning on using? What champions are you going to plan to attempt when you do approach this? Give me your feedback in the comments. As always, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss my next upload, and I'll see you all in the next video.